So after the Yola Pro 4 came out earlier this year, I don't think a single Gen 3 paddle that has come out afterward really beat it. Until now. Hey there guys, welcome back to Pickleball Paddle Reviews, and today I have the Thrive Project Fury, and this is in the hybrid shape. It is now also available in the elongated shape. This is definitely the paddle to beat in the Gen 3.53 category. I think this is probably one of the best paddles to actually come out this year if you consider just Gen 3 paddles. At the price it is, $190, and with code I think it's a little bit cheaper. I'll have it down below or linked right here. And honestly, this paddle is great. It's well balanced in hand. It's got plenty of power. It is very similar in a lot of ways to the Yola, with the main difference I think is that the speed at which the ball comes off the paddle, so the dwell time on the face, is not as crazy as the Yola Pro 4. It actually comes off a little bit faster so that you don't have to worry about too much trampoline effect. So controlling with this paddle, I think, is easier than with the Pro 4. So the main thing for me is when I play with a paddle, I want it to play as consistently as possible so that I know exactly the type of output, the type of hits I'm going to get. And this paddle definitely has that. So for first impressions, I think the design is very nice. I like that it's super simple. I could go without this little T right here, but I think it's not too terrible. I don't really like the font of that T, but it's not bad either. I do like that this is white and black all over, so it gives it a very cool look. I did immediately put an overgrip on this. When I first picked it up, I thought, wow, this paddle does feel pretty well balanced in hand right away. For me at least, it felt like it wasn't too head heavy and it wasn't like leaning down in any way when I was holding it at neutral. So to me, I was kind of optimistic just from holding this paddle, and when I first hit with it, I could tell that it was quite powerful, very reminiscent to the Yola, but without that trampoline dwell effect that everybody knows the Yola Pro 4 for. Now, I'm gonna throw up the stats of this paddle on screen. This is mainly like a very rough carbon fibery face, so you do get slightly better spin and feel from that than the Yola. I'm gonna be mainly comparing this to the Yola, if you can't tell, just because of how similar they are and how this kind of just improves on the Yola. So this is a hybrid shape, so probably the best comparison will be the Hyperion. But I don't really like playing with the Hyperion, but with this, I really like playing with this over the Hyperion. The Hyperion, it always felt like the sweet spot was just a little bit smaller than it should have been. And this doesn't have that issue. It still feels like the sweet spot's quite big and the paddle feels very stable. As you can see, I've played with this mostly stock. I only added an overgrip, but I do that to all of my paddles to play immediately, just because most of the time the grips are a little too small for my hands. And it played perfectly for me out of box. I do want to test some places where I can put some weighted tape with this. But I've been playing so consistent and so well with it, I don't really want to, mess it up. So I do have two Furies, so I will try with one of them. So let's get into ground strokes. Ground strokes with this feel very comfortable. They're definitely not the most powerful ground strokes that I've ever hit, but they are definitely very easy to control, easy to shape. I can keep those drives very low, and I feel like this is probably one of the better paddles I've ever played with for serving. Just serving in general is one of my specialties, and I love serving with the Thrive Fury. I can get those angles and speed just as I need it, and then with that great spin that you can get from this over the Pro 4, I can even add even more angles to my serve, and sometimes people just look at the serves and think how unfair it looks. Coming up to the net for putaways, flicks, and volleys, this is a great paddle. This shape is gonna feel very fast in hands if you're not used to playing with a hybrid shape. These cutoffs really do make it a little bit more aerodynamic, so you do feel it in your hands moving a little bit faster, and I felt that immediately. I usually really like getting up to the kitchen and playing that slow net game to get into a counter, and this paddle definitely matches my play style. I'm definitely not so much in the backcourt trying to end the point. I'm trying to get to the kitchen and counter a bad move. So this is definitely intuitive for me to play with. I do still mostly prefer elongated paddles. This is not bad in any way. I do think elongateds just give you a little bit more power overall, so that even when you are in the backcourt, you can get away with better drives. But maybe I do need to consider more hybrids into the paddle lineup because of how well I played with this. Now, for dinks, resets, and drops, so the soft game, this also plays very well, very intuitive, similar to how the YOLO Pro 4 is pretty intuitive as well. What it improves on that is that you kind of get a less mushy feeling right out of the gate when you have this paddle. It's not plush, it's not like rebounding too hard into the paddle. You actually have just the right amount of give so that it is kind of easy to tell how much output you're gonna get out of the paddle. Some people do think that it is a touch too poppy, but I don't think it is poppy at all. If you do have experience playing with a foam paddle, you do know how to take off some of that touch so that you can get the right hit with this. But of course, it is fair to say that I think some beginners and maybe some intermediates will find this just a touch too poppy when they go up to the net. Now, this does have a slightly smaller sweet spot than I think the elongated version will have, but the sweet spot is plenty big enough on this paddle. It feels bigger than the YOLO Pro 4 somehow, and the YOLO Pro 4 already had a very big and stable sweet spot. This paddle is even more big and stable than the YOLO Pro 4, and that is amazing. Pretty much every hit feels very good because of how big that sweet spot is, and it also feels stable. Not every paddle you get on the market is going to feel this stable. I'm very surprised because the twist weight on this is 6.3 to 6.5, and it's surprisingly way more stable feeling in hand playing with it than that. So man, I can't sing enough praises about this paddle. This was actually one of the best paddles I've played with in recent times. Hey, if you want to check out one of these Thrive Furies, now that it's in the elongated shape and this hybrid shape, be sure to use my code PBWilly10. You'll get 10% off and you'll help out this channel. So yeah, I'm very excited about this paddle. This is the Gen 3 that I've kind of been waiting for this year. I thought that the YOLO Pro 4, even with its shortcomings in some things, would be the Gen 3 paddle that I would have awarded as best Gen 3 paddle for this year. But this paddle definitely knocked it out of the park. It's definitely way better than the YOLO Pro 4, especially if you consider all of the upgrades this has over the YOLO Pro 4. If you really like Gen 3 paddles, I think this is probably going to be the best or one of the best that come out this year. Of course, the RPM paddle is also out on the market that many people seem to like. I do have one of those coming in as well. So we'll see. I'll test that out to see if it does even compare to this. I'm really hopeful that that paddle is also good. I'm glad that Gen 3 is not going away either, because Gen 3 still feels like the most natural way to play with a pickleball paddle. It still has the great feeling, consistency, and feedback that players need, when they're playing. Of course, foam is getting there, but right now, Gen 3 still has it slightly above Gen 4. All right, guys, if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and like. If you think you want to check out the Thrive Fury, please comment down below why you think the Thrive Fury is great, or if you don't like it, why it sucks. Be sure to use code PBWillie10 for 10% off one of these Thrive Furies if you do want to check it out, and peace.